Welcome to another presentation at the East Trade Winds, a chapter of the World Referral Network, hosted by Bernie Franzgrote and Wayne Pratt. The presentation today is titled Transforming Brands Through Storytelling and Content. Our guest is Greg Friel from Frielance Media. Greg has been making music and videos professionally for 30 years, from music projects in Nashville, Germany, the Netherlands, and New York to working with Ellen DeGeneres in Hollywood. Greg's experience is broad and varied. He is a composer, record producer, video director, editor, and marketing strategist. He assists in all aspects of content marketing from initial strategy to implementation, particularly working with clients who like to do things a little differently. He helps to design and create immersive brand experiences as part of a wider marketing strategy. Last year, Greg worked on a short film, a parody of Mission Impossible. This 48-minute film is a showcase of all of the different work that he does, along with collaborating with businesses to showcase what they do in a totally unique way. In between these brand building projects, Greg helps businesses with all aspects of their content marketing, from podcast production to video production, particularly focusing on brand storytelling through content creation. He works as a consultant on marketing strategy with clients to help develop their visibility online. He runs a variety of seminars, workshops on content marketing, including The Beginner's Guide to Podcasting, The Beginner's Guide to Vlogging, The Beginner's Guide to Content Marketing for Small Businesses.
Greetings from Glasgow, Scotland. I am here at the invitation of Bernie and Wayne, and I've chatted to them a couple of times before, and I really enjoyed. So they asked if I'd come along and tell you a little bit about what I do, but also share hopefully a little bit of knowledge based around my experience as a storyteller, really, for the past 30 years or so. That's really what I've been doing, and working as a musician and a marketer, audio and video. So everything, as I've mentioned earlier on, from voiceover and helping businesses with podcast production and audiobooks, to original music and helping make short films or brand content videos for clients. But ultimately, it comes down to telling stories. I just always find that storytelling, that's really how we've always communicated since the dawn of time. Since we were cave men and women, cave people, we've communicated through cave drawings, smoke signals, whatever. It's all about that content that we've done over the years. It's just a basic human way to communicate. And that's how we tell our stories, and that's how we communicate with one another. But we start off with cave drawings, but the modern equivalent of that, I say that's emojis. And that's just become, the medium's changed. We're on computers, we're using phones, but ultimately it's really the same kind of thing. We're using pictures and shorthand to communicate the stories that we're trying to tell. So one of the things I always like to tell people, I'm a huge fan of the marketer and author Seth Godin, who you may have heard of, very successful businessman as well. But he's written over 20 now, I think, best-selling books on marketing. And the thing that we always like to remember is that people do not buy goods and services, they buy relationships, stories, and magic. And I love that quote, because for me, I don't want to be constantly selling to people. I want to be building that relationship with somebody and offering them value. And through the content that I'm sharing, the stories that I'm telling, that they see something of themselves. And that's really what branding is, that people get to see themselves in the content that you're sharing. And remembering that the things that you do in your life and the stories that you tell actually mean something to people, rather than facts and figures, statistics, all that kind of stuff. That can be useful in certain situations, but ultimately what we're looking to do is tell people our stories, and from that we're communicating emotions and feelings. It's not about the facts and figures. So a little bit about what I do is, I always like to think that there's three ways that you can communicate your content, and that could be online through social media, or any way that you choose to communicate with your potential audience. Remembering that absolutely everything that you do is a brand touch point. In this picture, you'll see some very strange photographs from an event that I did a couple of years ago, PopCon, which was a brand event. I'd been doing a bunch of content for businesses, and it was not exactly the most inspiring at the time, and I was a little bit bored. And Top Gun Maverick was huge that summer, and it just kept going. And I knew that I was going to do something to reference that, because it's always a good idea to piggyback on somebody else's marketing that's already working, something that's pop culture. It can be an easy one. So for me, I was going to do what I thought was going to be maybe a 3-minute trailer for a sort of parody of Top Gun. It ended up being about 18 minutes long. And then we decided that, you would be absolutely insane. Why don't we have a red carpet premiere for this utter nonsense? Just make it a fun business event, get different businesses involved to sponsor it, cover the costs, but make everything about it Top Gun themed, totally immersive. So everything about the experience in the run up to it online, everything in the room, covering every aspect of the senses, from the sound design in the room, the music, every single feature of it was a brand touch point. It was on brand for what was happening. And excuse me. And that comes down to how I like to interact with people through the content that I share and the marketing that I go about. It's really three things. You want to entertain, educate, and or inspire. And if you can do all of these things, then you are winning. And so the purpose of this event that we did was we got all these businesses in the room, and we did something unique, something that was different that they hadn't experienced before. And from that, people that were there, what is it you do, Greg? Starting to have that conversation. They started to realize that, oh, if you do this like this, you could do something similar, maybe not quite as wacky and out there, but something on brand for me. So it led to doing brand activation events for other businesses, book launches, that kind of thing. But it was a way for me to really share the kind of thing that I do. So that's really my philosophy for everything in terms of businesses and getting your story out there. I'm not interested in trying to convince anybody that they need to work with me. I'm going to put out the content that I do and share the kind of work that I do. And I'm going to win over the people that want to work with me. And there's the people that just think I'm a lunatic will run in the opposite direction. And that's why I like to say you're not in the convincing business. As soon as somebody, if I feel that I need to try and convince somebody that they need to work with me, that I don't want to work with that person and they shouldn't work with me. It should just be straight away. It's yes, I am on board. So that's what I try and do with businesses, is help them to create that kind of content and build that world and build that brand that people just see themselves in the content that that brand is sharing. This is what I help businesses to do. And this is if I can leave you with a bit of advice, it's always about reverse engineering the client's problem. If the content that we're sharing can be not talking about me, but talking about the problems that you solve for your client, and they see themselves, then that's when they go, oh, that's me. And too many times businesses will be on social media, they'll do a video or they'll do a post or whatever and say, we do this, we do that. And you're like, yeah, that's great. But you're not moving anybody with that. You're not getting anybody emotionally involved in what it is that you're actually trying to promote there. So reverse engineer the client's problem is where it's at for me. Unbelievably random slide at this point. Have a quick read of this if you can. So one of the things when Bernie had asked me to talk, I was, what do you want to talk about? So just what you've spoken about before with us and storytelling, and okay, right, well, whatever. And he said, but it'd be quite good if you could talk about humor. And I'm very well behaved at this point in the day. So I'm pretty chill. My wife said, Greg, just don't be you. I was like, oh, okay. And just dial back. Yeah. So Bernie was like, can you talk about humor and when is it okay to use humor in your marketing? And at the end of the day, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. It's going to be a very brand specific thing. Humor is a huge part of the stuff that I do. It's kind of part of my brand, but it doesn't mean it has to be part of your brand. But I have a kind of a short checklist here, just in terms of if you're thinking that I'd quite like to maybe have some kind of aspect of humor in the work that I'm putting out. Consider several things. First of all, is it on brand? Is it something that seems for aligned with your brand values and the stories that you like to tell through your brand? Know your audience, read the room. There's plenty of times when people are trying to be funny and the occasion is just completely wrong, and that's just not, there's a time and a place. Is it appropriate? And there's a wee note on this. You can see at the bottom, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool and Wolverine versus Blake Lively, It Ends With Us. So recently, Ryan Reynolds, who I'm a huge fan of, as I'm sure you're all aware, Deadpool and Wolverine, one of the biggest movies now of all time. The marketing behind it was insane. It was very much on brand for the whole Deadpool and Wolverine franchise. And it was very lighthearted, in your face, very funny. And it really helped propel everything associated with the movie. Now, about a week or two after that movie was released, Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, was putting out a new movie called It Ends With Us. And you would have thought from the promo that she was doing that it was a cute kind of romantic comedy. And a lot of people pushed back on this because it was actually about domestic violence in a relationship. It was misrepresenting what the movie was about. And it seemed to be making light of the issue. So there was an awful lot of pushback online with people saying Blake Lively's tone deaf. She's not thinking about the issue and belittling it and almost piggybacking on the Deadpool and Wolverine effect, but without actually being specific to what her movie was about and being cognizant of that. So that's really a case of getting it wrong, where you're not thinking of whether it's all these things. It's knowing the audience, reading the room, whether it's right for the project that you're actually working on. Is it appropriate? Are people going to actually think that you're being offensive and belittling the issue? So those are always things to consider. But for me, Ryan Reynolds he's a brilliant marketer. He's somebody who just gets it right. He understands that, yes, it's reverse engineering the audience's problem. Or in this case, it's just, I'm here to entertain. And what does the audience of, Deadpool really want to see, or whatever it is he's doing, any of his numerous businesses now, what would be the thing that would surprise and delight the audience? And it's something that, I think I heard him say this in an interview just a couple of weeks ago. He said, what would you like to leave people with? What would be that overriding emotion that you want people to have? And he said, it's not necessarily about making people laugh all the time. It's really just about, I want to lead with joy. And if you can come into people's worlds and make things a little bit lighter, lead with kindness, all of those positive aspects, rather than everything's dark and miserable or whatever. Leading with joy just seems such a simple but a lovely way to look at things. And it's nice to mention the Canadian at this point. But yeah, so for me, I think that's when it comes to humor and those sort of things, whether you think it's appropriate or not, if you begin with joy, you're probably in the right place. So that's what I really help businesses with. I help them with brand clarity in terms of their brand values and whether their content is actually reflecting that accurately. I help them with content marketing solutions, everything audio, everything video. I have a studio in town. I'm also in my home studio here. And I work online with businesses all over the world. And I do original bespoke creative for them. And I kind of talk and I do workshops, all of that sort of things. But it's not about me. It's never about me and me imposing my view on anybody. It's always about, how can I help you tell your story and help you to tell your story in a way that truly reflects who you are and in the right way. And that's about it for me. If you would like to connect with me online, I am here. I'm everywhere. I'm probably normally, if I'm not wearing reading glasses, I'm wearing shades. Glasses are obligatory at this point. So thank you very much.
Unlock the full potential of networking with the World Referral Network. Are you eager to connect with our esteemed guest speaker and delve deeper into the ever-expanding universe of the World Referral Network? Simply scan the QR code now and embark on a journey of endless opportunities. Join us at East Trade Wins, where we gather online every Tuesday from 8 to 9 am Eastern Standard Time. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, you're welcome to connect with us and other chapters across the World Referral Network. Seize the moment. Register for free and start exploring today. Fancy sharing your insights as a guest speaker? We're looking for you. Reach out to Wayne Pratt to ignite your speaking journey. Email him at motivateyou.ca or connect with Wayne on LinkedIn. Don't wait. Take action and be a part of a global community that's shaping the future of business networking.